The views, opinions, and representations expressed on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network and its website are those of the hosts, guests, and participants, and are not necessarily those of or endorsed by the network, its affiliated stations and broadcasts, the management, other hosts, or advertisers of the network. The shows found on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network can, but do not necessarily, promote any particular lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice. These shows are for entertainment purposes only and are not intended to treat, diagnose, and or claim any cure of disease or condition or give any medical or legal advice.
Check out Night Dreams website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com.
Eric Cooper, S-4 Radio, on Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. It's deep into the paranormal.
Good evening or morning, depending where you are, and welcome to S4, the voice of Forest Moon Paranormal, coming to you tonight, live from the Langley, British Columbia, Canada, at the Comfort Inn and Suites. And I got to tell you, folks, they're accommodating here. So I have no problem endorsing them or giving them a plug, because yeah, they've been over backwards to make sure we were able to air tonight. So FMP is a highly active emergency response team for all aspects of the paranormal, from aggressive hauntings to alien abduction, interaction, Bigfoot and other cryptids, and everything in between that's terrifying. S4 is the voice where we discuss these things in detail. You can find S4 right here on Night Dreams Talk Radio. And for our local listeners, also on KSVU 90.1 FM from 10 to 12 Saturdays with pre-recorded shows. So tonight, it's January 26th, end of the month. So tonight we have our Roundtable, where we talk about everything under the sun. We kick back, don't have to think a whole lot because there's no research to be done. Everyone brings 3 questions to the table, and we ask them, and we debate them and discuss them, and have fun. So tonight we have with us Cole Wegleitner, our FMP Lore and Culture Research Specialist and owner of Statement of Sound DJ Services; Chris Dodge, our Extended Care Specialist in Forest Moon Paranormal; R. Keith Andrews, our Alien Race Specialist in Forest Moon Paranormal; and Michael Hall, our paranormal lawyer and founder of UFOI Team; and we have Seth of Dark 30 blog and the FMP and S4 Conspiracy Specialist. So, how are we doing tonight, guys?
Beautiful.
Not bad, How about you?
Good.
I'm having fun in Canada. So it was Anthony's birthday today, and he had fun. You know, it's how many kids do you know that don't get to leave their country? And our kids have been fortunate because we're only, 45 minutes from the Canadian border. And this is their second trip. But I hate crossing that border. Oh, my God. The border is just a nightmare. In fact, today they asked, so has your truck ever been searched before? Like, oh, God, no, really? Well, yeah, it has. Last year when we crossed. And she said, oh, okay. And what they're doing, like Mike Morin said, is they have our record in front of them, so they're seeing if we're going to lie about it. Well, why am I going to lie that, yep, you've looked at our truck, yep, for 45 minutes. But, yeah, anyway.
My dad crossed once, and the border guard coming into the United States asked him, do you have any weapons, bombs, or grenades on you? And Dad looked at his cup holder and said, no grenades today, thanks. They didn't let him in for 24 hours.
No. Of
Yeah.
course they didn't.
Yeah, they have no sense of ha-ha there.
They
have no sense of humor.
They don't. They really don't.
But I mean, when you ask a question like that, how are you supposed to answer it?
Well, they've got their own protocol. They do.
Except for the alien in the back of the trunk, everything's fine.
And you don't mention paranormal because you won't get a you know. And this woman says, "So where are you from?" "Oh, Washington State." "Where in Washington?" What is this? 20 questions? Seriously? Concrete? And I'm sorry, I'm not beating up on my community, but like I said in one of my the concrete posts, you know what? Even downriver, you say you're from concrete, they automatically think you're a tweaker. It's like, really? So I hate to think what a Canadian thinks of us, if they even know what concrete is.
90% of them don't know the small towns in our area, never mind the ones down there.
Right. But anyway, it's last Saturday of the month. Well, technically last Sunday of the month. That's a hard one to explain. Yes, so S-4 airs. Is it Saturday at midnight or Saturday on? Is it Sunday at midnight? It's hard to specify. And like I said, tonight we just kick back. We discuss. It doesn't matter if it's a situation from the month or whatever. Just whatever's on your mind, you ask it, and that's why we call it Roundtable. But technically, every show on on S4 is a roundtable of sorts, which makes it fun because we take topics, we pick them apart, we come up with a conclusion sometimes. So for our listeners too, it's being kicked around because apparently it was brought to Gary's attention that we just don't have enough time for some of the topics we talk about. So we might in February. We're going to work out logistics, but we might be going to a 3-hour show. So more will follow on that. But without further ado, Chris, what is your first question for the panel tonight?
All right, because I'm the only girl, you're picking on me first, right? Okay.
No, you're the quietest.
Well, because I'm listening.
Wait.
Hey now.
That's it. 5 minutes for the radio.
That's only face-to-face meetings. I talk a lot. Face-to-face meetings.
Right.
So let's see. I want to bring this topic up. It's been bugging me all day.
Mm-hmm.
What makes Forest Moon Paranormal different from all of the other paranormal teams?
We have Eric Cooper.
Boom.
And we have our keys.
We do.
Spirits.
Well, here's what I see as different. We have a lawyer, we have scientists, we have a psychiatric therapist, we have a medium, and an astral team, and an extended care team. When it comes to an emergency response team, we have every aspect necessary to accomplish that mission.
You also
Yes,
have
unless
an emergency communications specialist right here.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you really want to get technical, this kind of a team is what's important for disaster response, let alone paranormal emergencies.
Oh, yeah. Just different types of scientists.
Exactly. Well, not really. We have a microbiologist and we have an atmospheric scientist.
Yeah, but I'm thinking along the lines of needing a seismologist handy.
So we do have resources. We have Joe Algier, which I don't see in the chat room yet, but he is a geologist.
Oh, okay.
We do have resources. I was told don't call them assets because then that means you own them. So I call them resources.
Can I answer?
I will continue to call them assets.
Yeah.
but don't we actually go in and really fix the problem instead of just investigate? That's what I'm getting at. And we don't charge.
Right, and that's kind of my problem too. Is I'm not a paranormal investigator. I'm a paranormal fixer. But what else do you call that? I think the other aspect that makes us different is we're not there for evidence. We collect it, sure, if it's there. and if it's collectible. But when you're going in astral, for example, you're not collecting evidence. There's no evidence you can actually physically get.
Not only that, but the thing with Forest Moon Paranormal, you know, when I first met up with you, Eric, online, the thing that drew me to Forest Moon Paranormal is the fact that you kind of have an open range policy when it comes to evidence. You're not afraid to let someone else look at the photo. You're not afraid to let someone else weigh in on an opinion. Being a paranormal team, and I'm not being facetious when I say this, but it is far more than just putting on a black jacket, getting a camera and a couple nice apps, painting your nails, and then going out in the dark and getting into trouble. There is protocol in Forest Moon Paranormal that's been discussed on several back shows, which you guys need to go listen to. You go through the titles and you'll find them. What is the protocol? What are, you know, how do we handle things? What do we do if we can't handle something? What are our contingency plans? We're not just people who go in and collect evidence and then don't know what to do with it. Because to answer some of the paranormal questions of people who may be getting into it, they say, is this place haunted? Is that place haunted? Of course it is. New people die every day.
Yeah, that's the thing most people don't realize is that that the spirit doesn't have to die in the room that they haunt.
And oftentimes, for example, if someone dies in a car wreck, they don't stick around the car wreck, they go home.
Yeah. Well, that's what I told my dad when he told me he didn't want a burial plot because he didn't want us tied to the plot. And I looked at him and I said, "Well, why would I be tied there? You're not."
Right. Now, bear in mind, there are a lot of improvements, and we're going to talk about some of them tonight, that need to be done and that I hope to see happen this year. And we're going to be beating that topic up, too, a little bit later. But hopefully that answers your question a little bit. I know it didn't answer are we paranormal investigators? Not really. We're paranormal, I don't know, fixers? That doesn't sound right either, though.
No, I'm more inclined to call it sisters.
What?
Sisters or helpers.
Oh.
Paranormal repair. Paranormal repairman.
Paranormal mechanics.
There we go.
You fix what needs fixing, tweak what needs tweaked, and leave the rest alone.
Yeah, and don't poke the veins just to see if they're there.
That's
right.
How they react. Yeah, that's
Eric.
That's Brent. Brent pokes things.
Yeah. Yeah. He's listening and laughing, but this is going to take me right into my second question, so I'm going to get this over with. Okay, so we've heard about Project Blue Book coming out, and a lot of alien-based information coming out. My question or interest would be, do you think since the alien side information is coming out, do you think people that are having paranormal experience are going to be more apt to ask for help or come out about it?
In my opinion, not really.
Talk about the paranormal in general, the UFO experiencers.
Because you would think, if there's evidence coming out, this is just my quick thought. I'm not as experienced as the rest of the panel here, but possibly maybe people are thinking, well, maybe this stuff is true, and maybe I'm not seeing things in my home, and maybe it could be real, and maybe I should get some more information about it. But you don't think so, Keith?
You
not,
need to
not
answer.
like
Hey, Eric.
Primarily because it's one thing to think that you might have seen something. It's another to stare it down the barrel.
Boom.
Yeah.
I also think, so I love Project Blue Book, don't get me wrong, but for people that are new to the ufology field, the way they portray Blue Book, which I think is ideal, because it's going to pull people in, unlike a documentary. But they can also look at that series as fiction versus fact.
Absolutely.
So is that particular show in Roswell going to pull people in? No, it's not. Now, if they, and it's a known fact, statistically speaking, looking at the reports coming out, that UFOs are on the rise. And I know Michael will back me up on that.
Right.
I think the ones that are seeing things, it's going to slap them in the face and they're going to go, oh my God, this stuff is real. When nobody else can say, well, it's swamp gas or it's weather balloon or whatever. Yeah, everyone knows that's fake. But I think the more people see valid sightings, they're going to start looking and digging and looking for answers.
Now, you know what I think here is, if you've all have heard the saying, quiet down, everyone will want one. And what I mean by that is like, okay, Project Blue Book is out. Those of us who have, had our claws into this topic for quite some time, we're looking at things that are, being put on TV and weighing it objectively, subjectively. And I for one, am pleased with the program and the way everything's going down. But the thing is if you guys have noticed, one thing that I've noticed is whenever there's a movie that or a TV show that touches a hot topic, for example, let's say, okay, Men in Black, there is another one coming out, and Liam Neeson's going to be in it. But, like, okay, if someone's talking about how they've had encounters with Men in Black and this and that, I think that these things start to come up on the rise, and then so they say, okay, we need to make another movie like this, or we need to make another TV show like this, because then when an experiencer comes out and says, hey, I saw this, they say, oh, no, you didn't. You're just geeking off the fact that the movie was in the theaters and you didn't really see it, and you're trying to get attention, and they really try to discredit people. I think even though the message gets out there that things are real, and we here on this panel and people who are in the group getting help, they're not there because they need validated. They're already acknowledging that these things exist. We're already acknowledging that these things exist. But the thing is someone else out there wants to control the rate at which information is believable. It's believable anyway, but what I should say seems to be believable. So, therefore, I think that it waxes and wanes. So it goes with what Keith said, you're not sure until you're looking down the barrel.
And I got to stop real quick and give a shout out to Joe. Joe's in the chat room now. It's Pointy Stick Joe, and he probably used a pointy stick because he says he threw a gold ring into a volcano, and y'all know that reference. But
so he's the one that blew it up.
He is, and I gotta ask, did he use a pointy stick to throw the gold ring into the volcano? He's not going to answer because he's in the chat room, but.
Oh yeah, but Joe's usually pretty good at answering.
Oh, he's pretty quick.
Can I say something on what Seth said?
Yeah, of course.
So, the thing I noticed, Jay, so I am very new to the ufology field. And when I say very new, I am like a newborn. So, seeing that and thinking of the way Hollywood does, Project Blue Book is putting out amazing numbers. They are doing very well for themselves. Mm-hmm. Well, Hollywood is going to take notice of that, and they are going to flood the market.
Well,
the problem is they're going to flood the market with not just fiction, but everything. So flooding that market is going to make people have disbelief in this stuff. That is going to be a problem with having something this good come out and be very popular, is the fact that so much fiction will come with it. that there will be major disbelief. You got to admit, Men in Black is very fiction, like the actual movie itself.
It is.
And I would imagine that, honestly, the Men in Black are probably very insulted.
Well, it also opens up people's minds. I mean, I agree, and I know what you're saying. In the downfall of, for example, the ghost hunting shows, is that now you got, the market flooded with every Tom, Dick, and Harry that wants to go, oh, wow, I'm going to go buy all the tools they use in that show, and I'm going to go do the exact same thing. And the first entity they encounter, oh my God, how come they didn't do that in the show? Well, probably because it was a director that kicked a rock, or it was a director that pulled a string and made the door move.
Let's face it, the special tools they've got in the show have one heck of a special effects feel behind them.
Yeah. And we've discussed this on the show before, too, looking at the Bigfoot shows. There's been a few of them out there. And they're running around the woods with khaki shorts on and a bottle of water. Now you've got every Tom, Dick, and Harry wants to go Bigfooting. And he's going to wear khaki shorts and take a bottle of water. Well, never mind that there's a paramedic team and a full-scale survival crew on standby. And so now you got people lost, people getting hurt, things of that nature. Because
but that does cut down on the threat to the Bigfoot.
Yeah, but paranormal TV does a disservice on that aspect. It opens people's minds, but it also puts some people in danger. I can't tell you how many cases we've taken over the last 12 years that these folks had 2 or 3 different teams come in, stir stuff up, and now they don't know where to turn. And they're, half the clients we get, and not half, a quarter of the clients we get are in tears by the time they reach us. And, first thing you do is reassure them. And then you get the team in. And then you get extended care in to teach them how to keep it from happening again. And, there you go.
Sorry. Look at Joe's comment.
Yeah,
and that's so true, because those teams come in and they don't do, I don't want to say the proper way, but they don't correctly help fix things. They stir things up worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I even had one client that the team ran. They almost literally ran out of her house because of what they saw. And when she tried to contact them to find out what they saw, they didn't answer and they didn't return the calls. And so now you've done multiple things to this client. One, you've validated their fears that there is something there. Two, they can leave. She's kind of stuck in her house unless she happens to, have the money to go to a hotel, which I've had clients that were staying in a hotel because they were too terrified to go back home. And, on the flip side of that, you've got these amateurs that went into a home, they stirred things up, they ticked whatever is off that's in there, and made things worse. So by the time we get in there, if it's a spirit, you have to settle the spirit down. Because one thing I will say about FMP, we don't just jump in and kill whatever, destroy whatever's there. We've had cases where we've actually found lost aliens and guarded them basically, and Keith can attest to this. Where we actually guarded the alien until we made sure he got back to where he needed to be. We've had other cases where we had trolls that came through their lower realms, and instead of destroying them, we opened the gateway so they could get back home, and we sealed the gateway so they couldn't come back because they were confused as to how they even got there to begin with. So on the flip side, what we do is we don't just go in and remove and destroy. We actually try to figure out the root cause of what happened and fix it.
And that And that stems right from you, Eric, with the people that you have as the core members of your team, because actually being a member, I can honestly say, which is really nice, is there is not 1 ounce of competition between FMP core members. We do not compete. We act as a family, and we go in and we get a job done. This is not play. This is not a game. This is serious with people's lives, and we take and put them back in control, and we take care of the job, which is different.
Not only that, but to support what you just said, Chris, we aren't afraid to admit when we need to take a break. Like when in December and everything, we took the time off for the team members to heal and sit back. I mean, really, if anything, that shows the public, that shows the listeners and clients, look, we are still human too. But, of course, we don't charge for services. But
well, you don't necessarily have to be insulting, eh?
Mm-hmm. It isn't. It's very taxing on the body sometimes, for the astral team and things like that. When I was dealing with gin catching, for example, and things like that, I would have nosebleeds, and really, you have to keep your guard up when you're doing stuff. So it lets people know, look, even though we have our stuff wired tight, we're still human.
Right, and my husband's one of the Astro members, and I can sit here and watch him do cases. We've done cases together, and, sometimes they have to stop, and they have to read ground before they go back in, and, sometimes Astral's in and out, which makes them tired. I've seen him completely drained after cases, so it does take a toll on us, yeah.
And sadly, if you don't take a break, then you end up blindsiding yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I probably should have looked at that one a couple of months back.
The nice thing is we have Eric, who is one of the best team leaders out there, because he not only, when he first meets you, he takes you aside and actually asks you about your life and what you'd have done. Not just as a paranormal person, but as everyday person, so he finds out what your skills are and he knows what your baseline is.
Because he's family oriented and he adds you to his family.
That's right.
Yep.
Well, you got to know who you're working with and who you're bringing in. That's the bottom line. I'm not going to go into that. Michael, you're quiet. Are you still with us?
I'm still here.
You ain't falling asleep over there, are you?
Taking notes.
Okay, what's your first question?
Okay, let's see here. I've got a couple of good ones. I think I will start with this one first. This might get us thinking here. If you could get confirmation, literal confirmation of just one historic UFO event, which one would it be?
Ooh, Flatwoods Monster.
The one from last week's Project Blue Book.
Flatwoods Monster.
No, that wasn't last week.
No, not Flatwoods. Or this week's, sorry.
Lubbock Light.
Yeah,
Lubbock
I
Light.
want to see that truck.
Oh, yeah. It almost looked like the UFO landed on top of it.
Right? Well, kind of. It looks like it just crumpled the entire thing from every direction.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
the way it was marble.
Cole, since you brought that up, Cole, why don't you explain what happened in that episode?
No, don't. I don't want spoiler alerts. They got to go watch it. And they don't have to have History Channel to watch it. They can go on the History Channel website. Google the History Channel and all the episodes are right there. Go watch the show. No spoilers.
But that would definitely be something I would want to see. For myself. I want to time travel. I want to go back there and actually see the stuff as it happened. Okay, but come on. Can we try?
You can look, but you can't touch.
Hey,
I know there's a kid out there that has a time machine that runs off Doritos. I've seen it on TV.
I've seen it. I have too. And
it runs off.
Hey, we got to give a shout out to Craig real quick in the chat room. Hey, Craig, good to have you here. And you know what,
Mike?
What? What'd you say?
Michael, I just wanted to see if Michael will read that question again.
Yeah, and of course, Cole's got one of them, so I think we all need to jump in with our one thing. But if you could get actual confirmation of just one historical event in ufology, which one would it be?
I'm going to say Maury Island incident. I want more details on the Maury Island incident.
Very good.
That's right here in our backyard.
The very first modern-day UFO sighting, even before Kenneth Arnold and Roswell, right here in the state of Washington, where 5 donut-shaped UFOs were seen hovering over South Puget Sound, right off of Maury Island, by a tugboat captain and his crew. And one of the UFOs seemed to be having problems staying up in the air, and the other 4 were hovering around it. When all of a sudden the slag, some kind of molten metal, started pouring out of the middle of the donut hole, I guess, of the UFO, and fell on the tugboat, killing the captain's dog and injuring his 12-year-old son's arm. And talk about Men in Black, right? That's the very first incident.
Well, not only Men in Black,
of a Men in Black,
but they also had evidence with the slag.
Oh yeah, they had physical evidence. They gathered it up.
And yes, Joe, the slag actually fell out of it went to the bottom of the bay. It did kill the dog, and it injured the boy.
And it was all over the beach as well. They had a heck of a time gathering it up. And of course, the really weird twist about that case was, this was in June of 1947, by the way. That slag was given to Kenneth Arnold and some U.S. Army Air Force officers who took it and tried to fly it back to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The officers did. And that was the very first United States Air Force crash when their plane went down in eastern Washington, because the Army Air Force split off into the Army and the Air Force the very day that this plane went down. So it's the very first U.S. Air Force airplane crash, killing the 2 officers. Kenneth Arnold, of course, is still alive, or was still alive, and did some more investigations of that incident, even though it happened before his incident. Wasn't later until he started investigating that for Fate magazine.
Now, I want to, I like your question, Michael, because it brings up, how do we get validation? And I'm going to bring it up on the show because hopefully we have a listener that has an idea that can help us. Because we have so much, especially in the last 2 weeks, we've had a lot of shakeup in the ufology community. With some, and I'm not even going to go into that whole diabolical. There we go. But we need, and what started this whole thought process is I was sent about 5,000 UFO reports for Washington State, 400 something of which are just in the 3 counties around where FMP headquarters is. And in looking at those, there's been several, within an hour of our headquarters. And I'm going, why haven't we heard about these? We've got to come up with... So, for anyone that's in the disaster field, we've got ARSO. And don't get me go into the acronym. I can't remember what it is. But ARSO is a real-time network where if there is a volcano going off in Alaska, if there's a biological terrorism event going off in Afghanistan, I get a pop-up. And it's real-time. It tells me what's going on around the globe from a terrorism level and from a disaster level all the time. We need something like that in the paranormal field. If I've got Bob in Utah who stumbles into a Bigfoot and sends a message off to this reporting center that is real time, and we have a team in Provo, Utah, where Bob just saw this Bigfoot, we can send a team within minutes to collect evidence, talk to the witness. And for example, if Steve over here in Darrington sees a UFO and he reports it to this specific site, we can get Megan on FMP to race over and, one, validate and verify this UFO and talk to Steve and get more information. And if you have something like, a UFO landing site, you can go ahead and get Geiger counters out there, pick up radiation trace, get pictures, get validated evidence. That's what we need to happen. How do we make that happen?
I suspect that is coming.
I
it's
hope
probably
so.
not fast enough.
Well, but you know what? You know what I want? I'm going to throw out something here.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who's listening, out of the 70,000 people that listen to this show, if any of you are very good at coding, contact us at Forest Moon Paranormal to talk about setting up a portal site or a portal app that would do that for us, that would search into the keywords of different paranormal items.
See, I'm not a techie. So, we need techies.
Yeah.
You're my techie.
We're on.
Anybody, you do what Cole said here. And if you're worried about paying to build an app, if you have an Android device, there is a free app building software called Sketchware. And it gives you all the tools that you need to build an app. So if you're good at coding and app building and you want to build the app for free, test it out and send the APK, you do what Cole said and use that program.
But yeah, contact us, me or Eric, at on the Forest Moon Paranormal Facebook group, and we can talk about this.
Because what would be really cool, and Michael, this is like the fourth time now that Michael's heard me talk about this in the last 3 days, because it just irritates me. Because we're right there. And I mean, I've got 20 different UFO reports that go from New Halem all the way down to Lyman Hamilton in the last 20 years. Now, okay, we haven't been in concrete for the last 20 years, but we've been in Skagit County. I was born and raised in Skagit County, minus my 19 and a half years Army. But we're here now, and we have a sufficient enough team to validate, get the evidence, handle the abduction if there's an abduction scenario. And what I also want to do is do an overlay. Do an overlay and look at the comparisons between Bigfoot geography and UFO sighting geography and find out what the common denominator is. Because I know Bigfoot's not an alien. I kind of put Bigfoot more in the Guardian category, possibly the Fae category. That's where I put Bigfoot. But, like we said in the show a few times, I do wonder, because I hear the flip side with Bigfoot. Some say they saw Bigfoot come out of a landed UFO, pick up water and soil samples, get back on the craft, and fly away. I've heard the other side of it where a UFO comes over and Bigfoot's running away terrified. So if humans are being abducted by aliens, why aren't they taking Bigfoot too? There's always that possibility. Anyway, did we answer the question?
Well, two of you did.
Michael, I think I'll go ahead and answer that. I am definitely, first of all, with Cole, I'm very, very new to the UFO side of things. But, Michael, I'll answer you by saying I'm enthralled with Project Blue Book. So I'm going with the first episode with that spaceship.
Yeah,
that's my answer. And I'm sticking to it.
The fighter jet pilot, they hit a weather balloon?
Mm-hmm. That's one heck of a
No. Yeah, really. But that got me in that show when they opened those big old doors and there was that spaceship. Yeah. That was like, whoa. Yep. So it's that spaceship, Michael, that particular spaceship that's in that hangar carrier place. That's the one.
Mm-hmm. That's the one for me. I want, I don't know how far out this reaches. I know Gary was friends with the late, great Art Bell. So here's what I want. I know that Dr. Jonathan Reed has been on Art Bell's programs Coast to Coast AM and Midnight in the Desert when he was on Sirius XM. What I want, if you're listening, Dr. Reed, I want you to get a hold of Eric, Forest Moon Paranormal. And the proof that I want is I want that link artifact that you put on your wrist and filmed yourself with. That's what I want to see. That's the proof I want to see, is the link artifact that Dr. Jonathan Reed had and wore on his wrist, and he claims that it helped him teleport various other different things and how it interlocked with his nerves, and he was able to do all sorts of different things with his body in regard to it. I know it's been on display. I don't know if he still has possession of it or who does or who doesn't. But Dr. Reed, if you are out there and you have the link artifact, please bring it to Paracon.
Now that would be trippy.
Wouldn't it? It would be validating, though.
Oh, yeah.
Does anybody want to tell the story of Dr. Reed and his dog and what happened in his initial UFO alien sighting?
Oh, very briefly.
Go ahead.
Very briefly, I don't mind that. I forget names and dates, but I know he was out in the wilderness with his dog, taking a good long walk like he always does. And his dog ran off. He went up over a hill, saw the dog, and the dog had bitten what appeared to be an alien. And the alien's arm shook violently. When he shook, it ripped his dog in half. And I don't know if I have all the events completely straight, but I know that Dr. Reed got a stick and he cracked the alien upside the head with it and put a good wound in his head. And he had saw some kind of floating craft. It looked, small and personal to me, like a personal transport, maybe from a mothership that just came down. But this alien laid there for a while, and as he laid close to the alien, he was sick. He was vomiting. He was incontinent of stool and urine, Dr. Reed was. And he eventually had gotten the alien to his car and into his home, and he had put it in the freezer. And he had taken pictures of the alien. Not sure what race that's supposed to be. I know the eyes are kind of squinty. I don't know if it would be the typical gray or what. But as far as how he got out of his house, I'm not sure about that one.
Well, I guess where this took place.
Probably here in Mount Rainier.
The Central Cascades of Washington State.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I really ain't. I've had many people contact me about, I've got an alien looking through my window. And no, it's not Dave Scott. It was right here in Washington.
For anybody seen that, what race of alien was that? That can be my first question. What do you speculate the alien race would be of that alien that Dr. Reed had?
What do you think, Keith?
Well, no fairness, I'd have to get a look or a description. I haven't seen the event itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I need a little more to go on than that.
Let me send you a picture.
That I can work with.
Messenger.
And it,
Where are you going to send it?
Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
All right, give me 2 minutes while you guys are talking.
So we'll get an answer to that here during the show. So anyone else got a historical event or a personal event that they want confirmation on?
Well, I wouldn't mind physical confirmation of what I went through when I was a kid, but good luck with that.
Right.
Because I mean, the first memory I've got is standing on the deck of a starship looking back at Earth for an Earthrise.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to prove that would be something for me. Like I don't need proof to know whether it happened.
Right.
But you might want to describe it in more detail, Archie, so that some of the listeners who might not have heard that before could follow your story. It's fascinating.
Well, that first trip, I was standing on the deck of a starship with a Strazosian, which is a 7.5 to 8.5 foot reptilian, crouched down beside me. Her arm was over my shoulder, and she's pointing out through a transparent bulkhead at the Earth and going, "That's where you're from." And then she points off, and there was a computer enhancement highlight program that she was using to point out the star that she was from. And in the background, there were a whole bunch of little people. I hesitate to call them kids because I don't know what their ages were. But we had all been playing what amounted to zero-G wall ball. It wasn't just the reptilians and a couple of humans. There were a number of other races as well. But, I mean, children are children. It doesn't matter what race they are.
So, could you...
Although, in all fairness, some of them are a little more aggressive than others.
But could you potentially say that maybe that was part of the consortium?
Oh, I can, myself, absolutely.
Because if there were multiple races, I could see that as being a consortium ship, possibly. And for our new listeners, consortium is and Keith can help me clarify this, but a consortium is essentially a series of races that are here to watch the planet. They're here to watch the Earth. They don't care so much about watching over humans as much as they are watching the Earth and making sure that we don't destroy the planet.
Exactly.
Now, if it comes down to, North Korea launching a nuclear missile at the States or somewhere else and it's going to destroy the planet, they will get involved and intervene. But I get asked quite often, well, how come the aliens aren't here to help us? Well, because why would they?
Well, in all fairness, the other little problem that you run into is their method of help most people would not approve of because it's a little too direct and too unilateral for most humans' sensitivities.
Changing the subject real quick, because Garth Michelle's in the chat, and I saw this, and who else saw the article about the 3-year-old that went missing? Not a mark on the child, he was found, and he says a bear took care of him.
I saw that article, yeah.
Now, the argument is there have been cases where bears have taken care of kids. Cougars have taken care of kids. A bear is going to take care of a child, or an animal is going to take care of a child. Occasionally, it does happen. The other, comments I've seen are, he's 3. How does he know what a bear looks like? How do you know what to believe with a 3-year-old? Okay, if the kid's been missing for a few days, personally, and I get scoffed at, but whatever. Personally, I think it was probably a Bigfoot.
That's what I was going to say.
That's where I'd go with it.
Because
bear won't bring a kid back.
No. No.
But I know for an absolute Bigfoot will.
It's happened.
Who would?
It's been documented. Kids got lost. Who brought the kid back to camp? Bigfoot didn't walk into camp. Bigfoot was on the outskirts of the camp, but Bigfoot brought the kid back home. So why couldn't it happen with a 3-year-old? So,
and I truly believe that Bigfoot would be less aggressive than a bear.
Oh, yeah. Well, and besides that, I mean, you take a look at the issue of the kid. The kid is going to scream, which in more cases than not, from what I gather, depending on the bear, most bears will take off with the added noise.
Right.
Now, I know Gary's got, Gary's got his experience with a very aggressive, pretty much violent Bigfoot. And it does happen. It does happen.
Oh, yeah. Well, they do have different demeanors.
Well, and I've also heard from Native American lore that there are 2 kinds of Bigfoot. One is black and very evil. And the other is the one that we all know is maybe not nice, per se. Keeps to themselves, and they are guardians. They're not going to attack. And then you go
let's take it one step farther. Maybe it was a nurturing female Bigfoot.
On the 3-year-old case?
Sure.
Oh yeah, no, and I fully agree with that one. And who's to say? So you can take the more aggressive experiences as you look at any animal with young, they are going to be more aggressive. They're protecting their young.
Yeah.
Not always. I mean,
no, but just about every race is the same way in that respect.
Exactly. Then I've got to say, there comes a territorial aspect. Some Bigfoot, I would say, are more territorial than others. If they were born in a certain area, or if they're, for whatever reason, they're more protective of a certain mountain range, they're going to be more aggressive. So that's where I would stand on that, as far as that particular article. Good article, though. And then you've got the other article, Bigfoot's kind of making a rise on that, too. I mean, not so much with the 3-year-old. He didn't come out and say, oh, it was Bigfoot. But there is the other article where they captured a video in Utah, and they're trying to say it was a Bigfoot. Have you guys seen that one yet?
No.
Oh. No.
I think it's in FMP. It's a tall, dark-looking figure. Quite a good distance. You can see it on the hillside. You can see him moving around. Somebody else came out later in the article and said it turns out it was a tall hiker. Personally, I've never, seen a valid picture or video where Bigfoot actually showed himself. I mean, if you go back to the 60s and 70s with the, and I can't remember their names off the top of my head, with the, help me out here.
Patterson-Gimlin film?
There you go, the Patterson-Gimlin film. I think that was valid. I do.
Actually, if you saw the one study they showed on television with that, there have been several, but there was one in particular that I saw in which they had this, big hulk of a guy. He was the size of a Bigfoot. I mean, the dude looked like he could bench press a mountain. And they had him go in the same exact area where they filmed that, and they had him try to train himself to walk in that pattern. And they did motion capture and everything like that. And they said if you really look at that video, that the bone structure of the creature in question does not match any variant of the human skeletal system.
Right.
There are movements in that creature that do not mimic and cannot be mimicked by the human skeleton.
And
that's the thing to keep in mind that you got to look at. The difficult part with it, of course, is it doesn't matter how much proof you get, people are going to still argue the point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's human nature. Everyone wants to be the first one to get the valid proof. I don't care. I know I have Bigfoot in my backyard. I know that.
No, he's in your living room.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too. But we know we've got the knocks. Markham, when he was at the house, he heard Bigfoot knocks for his first time and was excited. That was in my backyard. So I have no doubt Bigfoot's in my backyard.
I keep telling you, let him go, Eric. That's not nice.
But he likes it there. Anyway, we're not gonna beat up this topic too much. I know we're coming close to the top of the hour, and I agree. We need to go to a 3-hour show. We can talk so deeper. Before we go to break, though, let's get to one more question. So, Seth, and if we have to continue the topic after the break, then we will. But what's your first question?
Okay, here's my question. Now, you want to be able to see an alien body one way or another, and we have the UFO reporting system that we're talking about. When we come back from the break, I want to know from each and every one of you, if someone were to find or be able to secure any type of cryptid alien or what have you, if they were to be able to do that, you don't want to make a phone call on landlines and stuff. How do you get it to Forest Moon Paranormal? We need some kind of, and I don't mean this in the wrong way, but in the way that it was carried out, we need some form of underground railroad for a paranormal, because we don't want to be on the road and, we take a look in the back of your car, sir, then you have an alien, and the next thing you know, your life is in ruin.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there. In the U.S., it won't be a big problem. Getting it from Canada to the U.S. or any other country could be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's going to take a while to figure out.
Yeah, do.
Seth, before we go to break, Seth, can you say it one more time?
All right, I want to know what any suggestions are as to how to transport any type of alien or cryptozoological creature all the way to Concrete, Washington. Because I have an idea. I'm going to answer the question when we come back from the break myself, after you guys.
And Garth Michelle asks, why are we transporting them? Well, we are transporting them for evidential purposes. And to be honest, and to be completely fair, instead of sending them to Concrete, Washington, I think I would send them to North Carolina, where Markham can analyze them.
There we go.
But
or send them to Melba Ketchum. My gosh, she's the expert.
Say that again.
Well, Melba Ketchum, the scientist who has been studying the DNA of Bigfoot. That would be interesting as well.
That'd be the first place I'd go for any cryptozoological or alien creature in question. What I would like to do requires a little bit of work, but I'm wondering if we shouldn't set up some kind of home base in each state, where if you, like, let's say New York, for example.
Right.
If anybody has something and they feel they want it to get Forest Moon Paranormal's attention, I'm going to have them bring it to me.
But you know, logistically speaking, how hard that is to, one, validate a team. You do. You've tried New York, and none of them are worth a crap. It's hard to So FMP has their own resources in Australia and India that I would trust. It'd be great because I'd like to have a boots on ground asset in every country. But one, they have to follow the same baseline ethics that FMP does, and it's hard to find teams that do. Just saying.
Check out Night Dreams website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com.
You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. And thank you. Eric Cooper, S-4 Radio, on Night Dreams Talk Radio Network, gets deep into the paranormal.
Welcome back to S4. Tonight we're having our January roundtable as we do every last Saturday of the month. Hope you're enjoying tonight's show. You can also find archives at our Spreaker site on the S4 YouTube channel for all the shows you've missed in the last 2.5 years. And we also have our website, www.s-4radio.com, where eventually it's time-consuming, trying to get all the different... And if you got an idea you want the S4 and FMP logos on, shoot us a message. Right now we're getting socks. Yes, you heard it right. We're getting S4 socks on the store.
Ooh.
And...
Dude, you gotta let that
go. Hey, Dave started it. Spaced Out Radio started it. We also have blankets that we're having designed. We're having throw pillows we have designed. We're getting a bunch of different items designed. And we get 40% of the proceeds go to FMP for Paracon, for gear, for gas, for whatever we need on the team and the events that we post. And that really helps with team operations when it comes down to, we don't charge for cases. We don't charge for training. We don't. And oh, my God, that brings up a good topic, but we're not going to go there. Because, there's groups out there that actually charge a lot of money for training people that work for free, and they have to pay for training. I don't believe in that. Anyway, back to, Seth was bringing up, if somebody was to get hard evidence that would be confiscated or taken by the government or other agencies, such as alien material, cryptid material, things of that nature, how would they get it? How would they get it analyzed without interference? So, take it away, Seth.
Yeah, what I say to begin with is, I'm going to have you, if you're around here in this area, you get a hold of me on Facebook. And the code word you are going to send to me is, we need to have a visit. And then I have a contingency plan in place. I am going to tell you ahead of time, the very first thing you are going to want to do is you are going to want to take pictures. You are going to want to take an Altoid tin. You are going to want to put a little wooden box that can fit inside that Altoid tin and plastic that can wrap around that. And you are going to have an SD card inside that Altoid tin. And you will then have created a Faraday cage in which they cannot sense the SD card that you have. And that's organizations here. They have those RFID blockers. You can get those too, like the little wallets, so that you can block your card chips and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And any type of evidence that you want to keep up and away from people, you're going to put in that. And just the same, those popcorn tins, the popcorn tins that they have, they sell at Christmas time and stuff. There's YouTube videos on that show how to make a Faraday cage. And if this thing that you already have, I really seriously doubt you're going to have a live Bigfoot to show on display.
Right.
But if you have anything and you feel that you can't transport the whole entire thing and keep the integrity of the body, then you are going to get an identifiable limb or piece of that, and you do a little bit of home surgery yourself. You put the rest of it somewhere else of the alien or creature in question, and you are going to take that Faraday cage that is an instruction video on YouTube, and you are going to put this piece of evidence inside that Faraday cage, and you are going to freeze it. And if you don't think that you have room in your freezer for the popcorn-sized tin, you can do it easily, with the little butter cookie tins and stuff like that. I know this works because I test Faraday cages myself. I build them, I maintain them, I have them to test for EMPs on my amateur radio equipment. And that's the first thing you want to do. And after you get it into an EMP-proof case, then you're going to want to get a hold of me. You take a picture of that tin or whatever it is in question, and I know people might be listening to this of interest, but they're still going to have a hell of a lot of stuff to sift through if they're going to be looking for pictures uploaded with a popcorn tin. So everybody takes pictures of the Christmas trees and stuff like that. Those little algorithms you need to think of, and this goes hand in hand, and I'm going to tell you why. You guys have all seen this 10-year challenge on Facebook. Do you know why this 10-year challenge went into place? Was because BuzzFeed started it. They were paid by Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg paid them because the algorithms in Facebook are messing up because everybody uses, like, for example, their old first profile picture, or they'll post like a Throwback Thursday picture, anything like that. At least 70% of people on Facebook's profile picture is not updated. So they did this 10-year challenge so that you would post an old picture of yourself and a new picture of yourself, and it would fix Facebook's algorithm and also upload your stuff into facial recognition. You say, okay, well, what does this have to do with inanimate objects? It has everything to do with inanimate objects, because they're not just looking for human faces in pictures. If you've ever went to upload a picture on any social media, and you will see a little square around something. Sometimes you'll see a square around a face, and it will have your face tagged. There will also be squares around other inanimate objects, like teddy bears, toys, pens, certain logos, like the Coca-Cola logo, for example. And so you're going to want to do this. And once you get it in that container, you get a hold of me, and I'm going to show you how to test that to make sure that that cannot be picked up. And then what you do, you fill it with whatever it is that came in it. And if you've emptied it out, you go to the store and buy a new one. So if I have an empty popcorn tin, ladies and gentlemen, and I have to put, for example, the hand of a gray alien in there, which lightning ain't going to strike twice. The chance of this actually happening are slim to none, but things do happen. And it can happen to everyday people. And that's why the men in black and things like that show up and tell you, look, you did not see this. You like the ability to walk, right? Well, you did not see this. So you're going to take and you're going to go to the store, you're going to get more of that popcorn. You're going to put it over the top of that plastic and wooden combination container that's inside the metal. And anybody looks in there, yeah, they're going to see that popcorn. The chances of being figured out, if you aren't acting suspicious, people aren't going to have a whole hell of a lot to be suspicious about. And because I'm a boring person, probably the most boring person on the planet, I can help you maintain that anonymity and get your information. Because the very next place I'm going to get it to, hell or high water, is like Eric said, Markham or who Michael suggested.
Yeah, you
whichever one I can get a hold of quicker.
Say again?
I said he clearly does not hang around morgues much. Because rest assured, people there are a lot more boring than the ones walking around.
Oh. All right.
Hey, Keith, what's your opinion on that, though, just out of curiosity? If I had a spaceship crash, and I'm not being facetious here, it's an honest question, and I had the opportunity to cut off a finger of a gray, and when I have that in my possession, I don't know much about the alien race. Are they going to know that I have it?
Are the alien race going to know you have it?
Yeah.
Not without a whole lot of working. And in all fairness, most of the races, depending on if it's a gray, they'll be curious why you took it, especially given that most humans will not do that to a corpse.
Right.
That's debatable. But, yeah.
Yeah. Just curious on that.
Yeah. But if you're worried about would they come down looking for it, no.
Yeah, give me my finger back. Yeah, I can see that one.
then you can say, then you just give them the finger, right?
No.
Anyway.
You tell them I don't got it. Markham's got it. Oh, did I say that out loud? Yeah, no. So, Cole.
No, most of the races wouldn't even worry about it.
No, it's just a finger. It'll grow back.
In some of them, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Or tentacle in some cases. So,
by the way, just a quick little jump back to last hour.
Yeah.
That picture that you guys sent me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That little thing, I forget where it came from, but I can tell you what the place is. That's in Oahu.
It's what?
They're avian.
Okay.
They're very closely related to the Uka. Just a different branch, if you will.
Oh, cool. So then if I sent you an image of that Link artifact that he wore, Well, you may have seen it, but if you haven't, would it refresh your memory and maybe you can figure out what the symbolism
In
on
all
that
likelihood, yes.
means? All right, that's my next step.
Okay.
You guys continue. I'm in the background doing this.
All right. Cole, what's your first question?
Okay, so I am really stuck on this whole Men in Black thing since Project Blue Book. So what I'm wondering is, as Michael said, our first confirmed sighting of a Men in Black was here in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of trying to remember what
Moore Island.
it was called. Moore Island, okay. What I'm wondering is, how far back do we honestly think the Men in Black actually go? Because just because that is the first confirmed sighting that we have of them, does that just mean that was the first time they screwed up and got seen?
You know, if you were to actually do a lot more digging, you'd probably find them back in the 1920s.
Yep. And
Well,
definitely
but
back
what
in
I'm wondering is
1940.
if they formed out of a different society, because we, like, watching the show Ancient Aliens, there are different societies that actually worked along with alien races dating back to the Egyptian times, to Greek times, when those were countries of power.
Why do you think they were countries of power?
Well,
There's reasons they were countries of power.
but that's what I'm wondering.
So the Men in Black really had
Are the
nothing
Men
to
in
do
Black-
with it? I don't think, because to be completely honest, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Keith or Michael, the Men in Black are essentially a U.S. thing. I don't think I've heard of any Men in Black cases in Europe or in any other country.
No, they're pretty much, from my understanding, they're pretty much relegated to the U.S.
Yeah, which kind of leads credence to government intervention with the Men in Black, that they were government agents, but not all of them, because you have too many witnesses who say they didn't move human, they didn't move, normal, they had pasty white skin, and they disappeared. So there are many races. I believe the Nordics, for example, they do get seen in the U.S. occasionally, but they are primarily in Europe. I can't remember what race it was in Brazil, but there are certain races that are predominantly they have their own region, essentially.
Yes.
Which is why the Men in Black whatever race they were working with, you probably have an answer to that, Keith, would be dominantly in the U.S.
Yeah. I mean, the other countries have their own version of it.
Mm-hmm.
But they essentially have copied the idea that the U.S. used.
Right. I'm thinking here. But, yeah, essentially, if you look at history, most of your Men in Black cases occurred in the United States. Where some of them were alien or alien related, and the other ones were government agents trying to cover up something that was a little more than just a UFO sighting. Or there was evidence related. Or there might have been a government connection to that craft. It wasn't really alien related.
so now if it's a government thing, though, is that possible that the only reason we're seeing them in the U.S. Now and for the last 100 years is because the U.S. took over the funding?
Possible. It's also possible,
You know what I
like,
mean?
in some of those cases, it might have been the TR-3B instead of an alien or off-world craft that they were seeing. And when it comes to quote-unquote national security, they don't want you talking about it.
Yeah.
So, lastly, Keith, what's your first question?
Oh, I'm just curious. My spending time in the hospital just recently got me thinking, which is a dangerous thing. But mankind, when it comes to all of their medical technology, they seem to rely on either the electrical or the X-ray machine, X-ray wavelengths, in order to try and get any biological information. And what I'm wondering is why it is they don't actually cross-reference and use a combination of all of the different wavelengths. In other words, connect the system up where you're using the magnetic, the electrical, and the photonic in order to actually do what can be done with the equipment they've already got.
I can tell you exactly why. Money.
Well,
they want to cut up every single test that they can do on you. And they'll say, well, we need to do an X-ray. Now, well, the X-ray didn't show what we wanted it to show. We need to do an MRI. We need to do blood work. I don't know exactly how it is in Canada, but I know here that one of the things they do, and in my education and administrative business, I also specialized in medical law, medical ethics, and even billing and stuff like that. And what they try to do is they will do unnecessary stuff. I went in for a sprained ankle once, and they decided that they still wanted to do blood work. I asked them why the hell they wanted to do blood work. They did not have a solid answer for me on that.
Well, you would love the one they pulled on me up here. I was in, because of a stroke, and they told me, we want to set up an MRI. It's been longer than 2 weeks, so we doubt it. We don't think it'll show anything, but we're going to set it up anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know about you, but my immediate reaction was, well, why waste your time?
Well, I got to argue with Seth on that. I don't think it's as much about cost as you'd think. I honestly think it's the fact that when it comes to cross-referencing those three, the idea of what we think we know versus what we actually know as a human race, we don't know anything really when it comes to our own bodies.
No, you really don't. Don't take that personally.
No, but yes, doctors go to school for 8 years. They do great work and they save a lot of people. But when it comes to the knowledge we've collected about our own bodies, we're not even close to tapping what our bodies are capable of, or what is involved with them.
Well, heavens no. I mean, I mentioned this before, but back in 75, I was telling the doctors they would not ever understand the human healing rate until they got a look at the triple helix. They told me I was nuts. In late 98, early 99, they found it.
And I can't remember his name, but there was a doctor that came out back in the 1900s, I think it was. It was the 1900s. And actually said that there was junk DNA. It's not actually junk DNA, that it's actually created by aliens. And the whole medical community shunned him.
And now it's been admitted to.
Yeah, and it becomes fringe science. But it's reality. Now, in answer to that, I think it's twofold. I think part of it, we kind of hit on already, is that the medical community doesn't know as much as they think they do. Most of their technology, most of their information actually comes from the military. Military medicine. What we do in war as combat medics, they experiment with, and it goes to the mainstream medical community. There's been changes in, CPR, for example, emergency medicine. They've changed CPR from doing compressions, or from doing breaths to straight compressions only.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to trauma, you automatically, once you've established breath, you automatically go to stopping the bleeding, because they've realized, you can actually bleed out. Seriously? You think?
Yeah, not only that, but another thing they do is they change positions that a baby's supposed to sleep in every so many years.
Right.
They say, oh, no, you put the baby on their belly to prevent SIDS. And then a few years later, oh, no, you put them on their back to prevent SIDS. And they say, oh, no, you put the baby on their side to prevent SIDS. And it's a very sad thing, but the statistics on that do not change.
No.
No, it has something to do with the fact that SIDS is a genetic thing. It's not a positional.
Mm-hmm. And I think the other piece to that, again, is cost. And that came up too. I think the medical community tries to make as much money out of the public as they can, and not just the medical community, but I think it's the pharmaceuticals more than anything, because it's a known fact that there is a cure for everything on this planet that humans suffer from in nature. I mean, morphine, or not morphine, Valium comes from valerian, the valerian root. You know, you've got a natural remedy to everything pretty much in nature.
Oh, yeah, it all grows here, one way or another.
Right. But they will not allow it because the FDA will not allow it not because it's not safe, but because it'll take money away from Motrin. It'll take money away from Tylenol. It'll take money away from the $500 you pay for an epi shot or more, or the $1,000 that we were paying for a Z-Pack, for bronchitis. It takes money out of the pharmaceutical industry. So
that's right.
If we're worried about the pharmaceutical industry, can you imagine how much money it would take away from the medical community as a whole? With
it's sad to say, but one thing that I do want to add here that people don't realize is that you cripple those industries, much like if you cripple the oil industry or you bypass it.
That's the other thing.
The ramifications are absolutely astronomical.
You read my mind.
Because if you could take alien technology in general, you would destroy the fossil fuel industry. There'd be no reason for it. There'd be no reason.
You'd also, by the way, destroy the plastics industry and half the clothing.
Well, not just fossil fuels, but you know how much Puget Sound Energy makes? I mean, we pay almost $1,200 every 2 months to power our house. And alien technology would, just a little tiny, I don't know, I don't even know how to describe this stuff, but you could power the house, you could power the planet without having hydroelectric that they tap into and jack up the prices on.
Revenue circling the drain.
Yeah.
You want to sample this picture you guys sent me?
Mm-hmm.
That would destroy the transit industry. And I don't mean just the buses.
Oh, God. Joe's in the chat room. Are the aliens here for marijuana? I think so.
Yeah.
They're here to smoke weed.
No, that's why they go to Canada, not here.
Oh.
Up here.
They're here for the weed and the pointy sticks. That's why the aliens are here.
I mean, heck, in Sweden, they've got our brand listed on their smoke shop's wall. They literally have it listed as BC Bud.
Unfortunately, now the government can't keep up in Canada.
Well, they just waste the money they make in Washington. Okay, let's turn around. And Chris, what's your second question? And okay, so I have the panel come up with 3 questions each roundtable. I know we're not going to get through all 3 because we have 2 hours, and we're not going to get through all 3 questions if we did a 3-hour show. But it's the meat of the topic of each question that is what to me is important. So.
Okay, I already did my second question, so I passed my turn off to Keith for his second question.
Okay, Keith, second question.
Well, this little artifact you sent me here.
Mm-hmm.
Curiosity. Given that this thing is actually a personal, number one, It's a personal teleportation device, but it can be rigged for transporting bigger objects. What kind of damage would happen if that thing actually got out into mass production?
Because I'm thinking, however it transports, there has to be some form of molecular disruption. And if you kind of think, I know it's a silly analogy, Keith, but it's the best I got. But, like, if you remember the original Willy Wonka movie, when he gets into the little TV transmitter and all of the kids' particles, Mike TV's particles, are hanging in the balance over space until he gets into the smaller one. What happens?
Speaking, yes.
If you and I decide we're both going to transport ourselves at the same exact time in the same exact spot on the floor into the Whataburger, are we going to be manifesting ourselves back together with each other's parts hanging off ourselves?
No, you wouldn't live through it. In all likelihood, when you came together, you'd blow up.
So, is that the same concept? Is that the same concept as the atom destabilizer weapon they use?
No. This one's much more volatile.
Okay.
But the reality is this thing measures in nanoseconds. Okay, meaning getting something to transport at exactly the same time is virtually impossible. Oh, in answer to your question, the other part of the question, though, it's Atlantean.
It's Atlantean?
Yeah.
And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, you tune into this program. You learn something new every week.
Exactly. So, Seth, you're the last one to talk. What's your second question?
Okay, my second question is, we discussed the transport of the aliens and everything like that. My question is, it's very difficult to assemble a team locally. Here, it's impossible. I have tried. There's too much ego in the way. Now, if we can't establish local teams, what parts of Forest Moon Paranormal do you, Eric, think, and then everybody else, but I want you to answer first, Eric, because this is your baby. What types of team sublets do we need to add and improve upon in terms, I know you have an astral team, I know you have researchers for different things, I know the ins and outs, and everybody here does, but what are some things you would like to see happen in Forest Moon Paranormal this year in terms of ways to further help the community?
Well, that's an easy answer, because I've already thought about it. So, for one, that's why we do Astral School. Astral School is designed so that we have, the way cases come in, I might get 2 or 3 cases simultaneously because we're global. There's not always somebody awake 24/7 in the astral team. So we need more in the astral. So that's one aspect. 2, we're working on extended care, and I think we're pretty comfortable, and Chris can jump in on that one, but I think we're pretty comfortable on where it comes with the extended care team. We could use a couple more maybe, but I think we're comfortable where that stands. What I would like to see more of is more scientists and more psychiatric that would jump on. And that's just the cut and dried, that's an easy answer. You can't have enough scientists, and you can't have enough in the psych field. We only have 1. And I looked for somebody in the psych field for 3 years before Francie jumped up. So it's hard to find somebody in the psych field that is open-minded enough to accept that not all psychiatric issues are psychiatric issues. Some of them are paranormal related. And on the flip side of that, not all paranormal issues are paranormal. There might be a psychiatric issue going on there, and oftentimes there is. Not always. I'd say about 20 or 30%.
No, but let's face it. You run into a paranormal experience, it has a tendency of triggering complications.
Oh, yeah, hands down. Hands down, oftentimes psychiatric and paranormal work hand in hand. Having a paranormal issue where you're pushed downstairs, or if you're abducted by aliens, you need to see a psychiatrist when you're done.
More often than not, not to mention a doctor.
Right. But that is simple therapy. That doesn't make you bipolar. That doesn't make you schizophrenic per se, but you're going to have some signs of PTSD, good chance. So a little bit of healing, a little bit of therapy, and you're on the right track. You've started, and most of the time, just the fact that they found a team that's not going to ridicule them, that's telling them you're not crazy, we're here to help, is the first step in the healing process. And then once we clear it, extended care steps and teaches them how to take their life back. And then if they need it, Francie is there as our licensed therapist.
I like the way that every psychologist or psychiatrist I've talked to has put it. When I asked them, how do you tell if you're losing your mind? Every one of them has told me the same thing. If you're asking, you're not. Because if you're losing your mind, you're not going to know it.
No, you won't recognize it.
Makes sense. Yeah.
But anyone else want to jump in? What do y'all think? Is there anyone besides science and psychiatric that we need on this team? We only need one lawyer. Michael's the lawyer, hands down.
I think my response would be, I'd like to see more, if we could set it up to training the extended care a little bit different, not so much by typing or messaging on a computer, but do more of a face-to-face and get to know the people better, because it is an actual relationship that this representative has with the client. And I think it would be best to do more of a face-to-face training to get to know the representative better and make sure that they fit with this team, because that's a huge thing, is that they have to fit in with this team and not come in, try to take over, to work smoothly. And I also think that we need a bigger boots on ground team. A lot of the people that I've seen, Eric, in this team stick to what they do. And if you ask me as an extended care specialist and trainer, if you ask me to go chase aliens, I will tell you no. I will stay in my EC spot and you find somebody else to go chase them. I've already met an alien in human form, and I will be honest to say that I was spooked. So I would not be the one that you send after aliens.
They can't be disconcerting race.
And Dredd has already made it obvious she's not the Bigfoot one. So
No.
So
I mean, it's awesome how people come in and they fit in their department, their section, on what they do.
Right.
But I think the boots on ground should be bigger for the alien. Now Brent is astral, but he'd be right out with you climbing those mountains.
Oh, hands down.
So,
but here's the problem.
I will be too.
But here's the problem. We have, and I'll use this as an example, and I mean, when this goes on KSVU, it's going to strike some nerves, but we have about 40 to 50 upriver folks in FMP. And I put out every month when training is, and how you can come to training, and what you need to do to be on the team. And do we get a response? No, we don't.
No, because I seriously believe that some people are still in fear to be able to say that they belong to a paranormal team. I've gotten that before. I say, oh yeah, I belong to a paranormal team. And they're like, oh, you chase ghosts? No, I don't chase ghosts. But people don't know what to think about paranormal team members. Everybody does not have an open mind. And I think this brings it right back to this blue book coming out that I think it might tone down some of the fear in people these days.
With a little bit of luck.
You know,
Tell you, when the Blue Book system first came out, like the original, it didn't tone down anybody's fear.
no.
Well, I'm hopeful.
And looking at Flatwoods Monster, yeah, again, that episode, I saw concrete all over it. That's exactly how they had
Those
responded.
people were calm. What are you talking about?
Uh-huh. Every one of them had a gun.
Well, and I think another thing that we need to concentrate on is just really boost up and get some big names for a Paracon and just boost that up for I don't want to say an information center, but in actuality, it is. It would be people coming for information on stuff, and the Paracons, the more we have, should help out with that too, getting information out here. That no, we're not a bunch of goofballs. We have jobs to do, and we believe in the reality, and why don't you come believe in the reality too?
Well, since you brought it up, and it's probably out of line, but what the heck? Have you guys even started putting your list of speakers together yet?
Yes. In fact, Mike and I were talking about that today. So it's going to be you, it's going to be Dave, it's going to be Mike, our three keys. There's a Bigfoot doctor in Idaho that I'm going to be reaching out to. I haven't gotten a hold of him yet. And then Mike's
Weren't you
Bigfoot.
going to try Ross?
Oh,
You're
yeah,
going to try Ross, maybe?
Okay, so Ross Allison is on the books, but at the same time, he can't lock in because he has contracts he has to honor. And he doesn't know when those contracts are going to pop up. It could pop up the day
So it's
before.
a possibility.
Ross Allison knows about Paracon. He's planning on being there, but if he gets told by a university he's got to go to Italy the day before Paracon, he's gone. He's a busy man.
Right. A last man dropout.
Right.
Or for that matter, last man drop in.
Now, I'm not going to go into details, but we've already started planning 2020, folks. In 2020, if 2019 goes off big time, then we are moving to a 2-day event next year, and we already have a location in mind. And I'm going to leave it at that. So.
Well, we know 2019 is going to go off.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt.
I'm just saying, if you would let Bigfoot out of your backyard for the day, we could use him as a speaker.
We could. And our Keith might have to translate for us. But, yeah.
Yep.
You know, the nice thing about Bigfoot is they're one of the gentlest races I've run into.
I think, and there's people, Gary's one, that would disagree with that. But again...
Undoubtedly.
Again, like I said, I think it depends on the circumstance, and I think it depends on the geography.
It also depends on the individual.
Well, yeah, I would agree.
It's kind of like a Wookiee. A Wookiee will tear your arms off if he loses in a game of chess, sort of thing.
Right. They're poor sports.
Well, and also just thinking, you're coming up with a story, Eric, and if more of these team members, if we all wear our shirts and stuff and get more advertisement out there, not advertisement, that's a harsh word, but more, hey, yeah, I belong to a group, and there is a group local, because, I've run into that a lot when we were getting donations for the last Paracon. That people are like, really? I didn't even know there was a group here, this local.
Well, we actually, we actually got that response, too, when we were doing the swap meet. When we were at the farmer's market in Concrete, we got that a lot. But how do you reach them?
I just said, we can wear our shirts more and stuff.
I wear my FMP sweatshirt all the time.
You know what
Well, you're one.
Yeah, well,
you have your local Paracon. That's good. And we have our listeners on S-4 and all the other affiliated programming and everybody there. But if you use certain keywords and you have a very good camera hooked up, YouTube will stream live in 12 hours at a time. What I believe you ought to do, either on YouTube or Twitch, creativity, you go under their creative category. I think Paracon needs to be streamed.
Oh yeah,
And
since
so-
we're on the topic of the FMP of the Paracon T-shirts, I was wearing mine up here in town the other day, about a month ago, and ran into one of FMP's listeners. And the only thing I can tell you is that his name was Murray. He had wanted to come down to the Paracon, but he couldn't arrange it at the time.
And it's funny, you know. I know we get listened to, because I encounter people in Skagit County here and there that, oh wow, I've heard of S4. I listened to it, and I go, really? Cool. Which, you know, because we get numbers, sure, but you don't always get accurate numbers. You just don't.
No.
So with that, you don't ever fully know who's really listening.
I will say, Chris, with what you said about being told that it's weird to be in this type of group and to do the Paracon thing and everything. The thing is, you got to look, how long did Comic-Cons sit in the sidelines until they became mainstream? And they are honestly mainstream now. But the thing is, you still get people that say, you go to Comic-Con, you are such a nerd. Like, my dad tells me that I'm going to the Barbie convention every year. He makes fun of me constantly for going to those. But it is a mainstream thing.
You're always going to have the haters out there. You're always going to have them. And I think
my
the
dad's
bigger
not
the...
a hater. He just loves to bug me.
Right, but I think if this Paracon got big, we would still have people out there that, you know, the non-believers, oh, this is, you know, not right, and the protesters and stuff like that. But I'll tell you, I'm about to find myself, like Michael has, and get a Chewy and ride around with Chewy all day.
Well, on the flip side of that, too, we have security to handle the protesters. I don't worry about protesters. Because you're absolutely right. You know how many death threats I've gotten? Quite a few. I don't worry about them. The minute they come towards my house, well, that changes the whole scenario, and I'll deal with them. But until that happens, I don't worry about them. Haters are going to hate. Threats are going to happen.
They hate us because they ain't us.
Say again?
They hate us because they ain't us.
No, well, that's true,
right.
too. That's true, too. But, yeah, I don't have time to sit and worry about haters. So I move on.
No. And then, you know, eventually something will happen to them, and they're going to go, oh, my God, this stuff is real.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
I get the same thing in the metaphysical field all the time.
Yeah.
And those two fields are starting to overlap even more and more now.
And it's, you know, going back, Keith, to what you said about the medical field, I'm over 50, and, man, that's old. And I've had surgeries and medical stuff going on, but it's kind of sad that when I started this extended care and working with grounding and shielding, I never knew so much about the human body until I started doing this, and it's all about energy. And it's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like I've been on medication for years for anxiety, and I can sit and shield myself, and boom, takes my anxiety away. And I was like, this is so strange, but it's so cool to learn. And Eric, it goes right along with what you said, natural medicine. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how that happens.
Yeah, because every one of the wavelengths, you know, when you start looking at sound, light, and magnetism, you can modify the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it's just amazing how it's helped me so much. So like I said, Eric, I will stay in the extended care. Do not have me chase aliens.
We don't pick and choose. You're going to be right up there underneath the craft. Darn it.
I'm just saying, I'll go over there, but if they pull out their probe, I'm pulling out mine.
That's right. The pineapple. Get the pineapple.
Pineapple.
You know
yes.
what? I want to close the show, though, with this, because Keith brought up the perfect point, that the metaphysical and the paranormal are crossing over. And I want to bring up that they've always crossed over.
But now they're crossing over in mainstream.
Well, they are, but they're not, because, you know, I'm going to irk a lot of people by saying this. And the Forest Moon Paranormal is a mix of all belief systems. But Forest Moon Paranormal started, and at the core of the team is pagan. Now, when I do promos, my promos go in all various aspects of paranormal groups, but they also go in pagan groups. And I've gotten beat up by the pagan community as well. Why are you doing paranormal in a pagan group? Well, it's very simple. Because, and it's a real easy explanation why I would be asked that. Because in our belief system, the paranormal in all reality is normal part of life. We deal with spirit. We deal with the fae. I think the only aspect pagans don't deal with is the alien. But that goes with the paranormal. Now,
well, the reason I mentioned that it's crossing over more and more is I used to only get calls from people regarding things like psychic phenomenon.
Right.
Lately, I've been getting calls from people wanting to know about possible abductions that they may have gone through.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by it's crossing over more and more.
Okay. Now, what people need to understand, though, and you know, when certain belief systems are experiencing the paranormal as a normal routine and is a part of their life because of their practice, they don't see mainstream religions who are experiencing spirits in their home and they're going, oh my God, it's a demon. Or, oh my God, what's going on? You know, and bottom line, yeah, what we do, that's why, and that's a big reason why we don't see it as evidence, because we know the paranormal's there. There's no question. Now, what you have to determine, though, and, you know, we've got haters in FMP that go, everything's just pareidolia. No, it's not. Now, not everything is paranormal. I get that. There is pareidolia in some pictures and some videos, but not all of them.
Oh, absolutely.
And you don't ridicule someone posting a picture or a video and mock them because it's just pareidolia. They don't know until you have someone analyze it. You know, sure, a lot of people take a picture and there's you can see their thumb in the corner of it, or it's dust. I mean, I could show you 11 billion pictures of dust that looks like orbs. I hate orb pictures. But you can also tell the real orb from the fake. Or not the fake, but from the dust, from the bugs. You can tell by the color, you can tell by the movement. So we're coming down to 8 minutes before the end of the show. And yes, we could go another hour very easily. We're not going to. We'll go to a 3-hour show. We listen to our listeners. And you know how much we could expand on? A whole lot.
More probing.
No, we don't.
Well,
I do want to hear Michael's second question, though.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Well, it was a big one. I was going to save this one for the end, but
what do you think this is?
Yeah,
it is.
Well, I don't know if we have time to discuss it, but here we.
Oh, we have 5 minutes to tear it apart.
If you had the ultimate UFO smoking gun memo, what would you do with it, and how?
I'd post it in FMP library.
Boom.
That's what I do with it. But there's so much fake stuff going around. And we could talk about this for a whole other show, but there's so much CGI, so many fake pictures, so much fake documents. How do you know what's real and what's not? I mean, until an alien goes and slaps them in the face, they're still going to say it was a demon.
No, that's what I was saying, that this was clarifying that if you actually had the ultimate UFO smoking gun or memo, if it's been vetted and you have it, then the real question comes down to, what the heck are you going to do?
I get some bigger...
I would.
Paranormal oil.
Right.
I would get it out to as much like news and TV, but I would attach FMP to it.
There you go.
That's what I would do.
Make it a group effort to guard it, protect it, talk about it, and validate it, and then also try to make sure that it does not get into the hands of the wrong people.
And that's why I would bring it to Michael first to protect myself.
Because you don't send it to the Pentagon, that's for sure. I would post
this is where I get off lucky. In a sense, I had the ultimate smoking gun. I met one. Ended up with a photograph of it, and he told me, don't show the photograph. You can show the photograph in person, but don't send it anywhere until I get permission for you to do so.
Right.
It took me a year for me to hear back from him.
Yeah, I definitely.
And I got told by a lot of people. I took a lot of flack for it. That it doesn't exist. It's like, well, you can think what you will.
What was it a picture of, Keith, or can you say?
Oh yeah, I can tell you exactly what it was. I met one. We had a hybrid Pleiadian show up at the Experiencer Speak Experiencer Speak Paracon over in Portland, Maine.
Ooh.
And I kid you not, when these guys left the building, I watched them literally dematerialize before they got outside. And when I did the investigation by talking to other witnesses, found out that's how they showed up, too.
I remember you talking about that before.
See, that's what I'd like to witness.
Yeah, but what would you do with that? How would you explain
What
that?
What would I do with it?
Yeah.
Well, I can talk, and if I see something like that, I know I could convince at least one person. But then why do I have to convince? If I saw it and I know it, then that's my verification.
That's the whole key right there.
Yeah.
No matter how many people tell you it's real, until you see it, most people are going to have trouble accepting it.
Oh, they do already.
Right.
They do already.
Right, like that woman I saw that was alien in human body. That really kind of freaked me out. But it's like, whoa, this is reality. You hear about it, you can't imagine it, but when you meet one and one's talking to you, it's a reality slap in the face.
At least she didn't
and usually they're using a spike 2x4.
Right.
Did it look as bad as Edgar from Men in Black?
No.
No, you couldn't tell. Well, I could tell a little bit by her. I could tell a little bit by her movements and her speech, but nothing else. I couldn't see anything.
So we have 3 minutes left. What is the topic for Blue Book this week? Does anyone know?
I have no idea.
I don't either. Has anyone seen the trailer?
No, but if you go to your TV guide and you look ahead, I can't do it right now because mine's not hooked up. But if you go to your TV guide and you look ahead to the time slot where Project Blue Book is, it will tell you the episode synopsis.
Well, and they also show it at the end of the last episode, and I can't remember what it was.
I can't either.
I can't remember either.
Michael?
Yeah, I don't know what the next one is either. I
Really?
I do like what they do at the end of Project Blue Book, and they give you the snippets of the real stories, the real investigations down at the bottom of the screen. I remember those are kind of fun to watch too.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. And I haven't even checked out the new Roswell. I don't even waste my time. I liked the old Roswell from the 1990s. And I'm not going to, ruin my perception of that one.
The new one's getting good. It's getting good. Yeah. But it's like I guess Brent would call it a chick flick.
Well, yeah, the original was too. And from what I understand, all they really did is do a remake with new cast, of the new one. So I'm curious why they brought it back, unless they think this new generation is going to get into it. It really does. I was in Germany, so when I actually got to watch it, it was like 2 months behind because AFN was always behind when they aired TV shows. The Armed Forces Network, that is.
It is actually good, though.
It is good. It is good. It's interesting, though, how they don't show aliens or anything like that, but they show, aliens in human form.
Okay, folks, we are at the end of the hour, so I want to thank our crew tonight, Colweg Leitner, our FMP Culture and Lore Research Specialist and owner of Statement of Sound DJ Services, Chris Dodge, our Extended Care Specialist, our Keith Andrews, our Team Alien Race Specialist, Michael Hall, our paranormal lawyer and founder of the UFOI team, and Seth of the Dark 30 blog and our FMP and S-4 conspiracy specialist. So as always, you can catch S-4 on Night Dreams Talk Radio every Sunday at midnight PST to 2 a.m., coming soon from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. possibly, and KSVU 90.1 FM Saturdays from 10 to midnight. So next week, February 2nd, I can't believe we're already coming into February, we're going to be discussing paranormal entity types, poltergeists, shadows, apparitions, quote-unquote demons, spirits, and anything else causing disturbing activity. So thank you again for listening to S4. Keep your eyes to the skies. Remember, it's you, our listeners, that give us a reason to produce S4. So stay safe out there, my friends, and see you next week.
Check out Night Dreams website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com.
You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.